Mr. Farhan Haq, thank you for joining in on CNN News 18. Now, the UN Secretary-General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, has opposed the racially motivated attacks in Bangladesh. Could you elaborate on the Secretary-General's statement?
Well, of course, in all countries, we stand against any attacks against communities based on their race, their religion, or any other discriminatory means. For our part, we want to make sure that there are no racially based attacks and also no incitement to racism. So that is something that we've pursued everywhere the UN operates, and that is the case here. In this case, what we've made clear is that we want a peaceful atmosphere to be restored to Bangladesh as soon as possible. Our Human Rights Office has made clear that those who are responsible for human rights violations must be held accountable. And our Human Rights Office has also offered to help with any investigations or to support any investigations under the current circumstances.
It's interesting that you talked about supporting any kind of investigation, because there have been calls for the UN to be part of an investigation into the recent killings in Bangladesh. Will the UN consider the request only if the interim government approaches, or are you already part of an investigation?
Well, the way the UN operates is we do operate in cooperation with governments. And so if we were to receive any formal request from the government, we would comply with that. But we have made clear, including through the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, that we stand ready to support any of these efforts.
Mr. Haq, protesters have rallied outside the UN headquarters over violence against Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh. Many have questioned UN's delayed response to the racial attacks in Bangladesh. How does UN respond to that?
I think we have been very clear from the outset in calling for a halt to the violence, and we'll continue to do so. Obviously, we want to make sure that what happens now is a peaceful and democratic transition, and we would support that as it goes forward.
Is there any initiative planned by the UN to rehabilitate all those minorities who've been impacted by the riots?
We certainly stand ready to support anyone who has been affected by the violence. Again, this would be in cooperation with any request that we receive, since we deal with governments on the ground when we go about our work. But we've made clear our willingness to support the people and the government of Bangladesh as we go forward.
Mr. Haq, my last question. What are the UN's hopes from the new interim government with Professor Yunus at the helm?
Well, our hope is that as the process of government formation continues, it will be an inclusive one. We want to see that all of the communities and all of the political groups in Bangladesh feel that this is a government that belongs to them.
Well, may peace eventually prevail in Bangladesh. Many thanks to you, Mr. Farhan Haq, for giving us your precious time here at CNN News 18.